Welcome to the reading passage section, section 1 of the PSAT. Here we are doing the first passage. Now, the very first thing we do before anything is we read the first paragraph, and we also, sometimes these passages have a little blurb before, and we always read that. This one doesn't give really any information, but sometimes in these passages, the blurb actually does give us quite a bit of info. In this case, not really. This passage is adapted from Jane Austen, Emma, originally published in 1815. Great. Now let's read the first paragraph, which is lines 1 through 5. After we do that, we're going to come up with the main point of this paragraph. Emma Woodhouse, handsome, clever, and rich, with a comfortable home and happy disposition, seemed to unite some of the best blessings of existence, and had lived nearly 21 years in the world with very little to distress or vex her. Okay, again, probably in 5 words or less, try to come up with just the main point of this first paragraph. So I'm just going to say Emma lived good life, pretty much. Or you can also say like low stress. But even Emma lived good life, that's good enough. Now, if you look at question number 1, I don't have that listed here. That's a general question. Remember in the steps that we're going to do the specific questions first and come back to the general questions. Now, we don't necessarily have to do the questions in order. What I like to do is do the questions kind of chronologically. And if you look at all the rest of the questions, question 2 is the one where deals with the first paragraph, and then we only have to read, it says 1 through 14. Well, we've already read 1 through 5, so all we have to do now is read 6 through 14. And then we can answer question number 2. So let's do that. So before answering this question, let's just read the second paragraph. She was the youngest of the 2 daughters of a most affectionate, indulgent father, and had, in consequence of her sister's marriage, been mistress of his house from a very early period. Her mother had died too long ago for her to have more than an indistinct remembrance of her caress, and her place had been supplied by an excellent woman as governess, who had fallen little short of a mother in affection. So, in this case, you can just say, mom died, governess took very good care of her like a mom. So she took very good care of Emma and just loved her like a mother would, because it said supplied by an excellent woman as governess who had fallen little short of a mother in affection. So she loved her like a mother would. Now, question 2 says, which choice best summarizes the first 2 paragraphs of the passage? Well, we've already kind of summarized it. Emma lived a good life, low stress. Her mom died, but she still, that really didn't matter as much in terms of the love that she was receiving. She was still receiving a lot of love from the governess. So that's our summary. Now the next step is to first notice how I answered it myself before jumping to the answer choices. That's very important. So we answered the question ourselves. The next step is to go to the answer choices, and instead of finding the right answer, let's eliminate the wrong answers. So let's go ahead and read these answers. A character has a generally comfortable and fulfilling life. That is true, right? But then she must recover from losing her mother. Again, nothing about Emma recovering from losing her mother. Remember, if it's not stated directly in the passage, never said anywhere that Emma must recover from losing her mother, so we can get rid of that. That's a common answer choice where part of it is right, but then part of it is wrong. In order for the answer choice to be right, the whole thing has to be right, not just half or part of it. Let's look at C. Largely as a result of her father's wealth and affection, a character leads a contented life. Well, this part is right. A character leads a contented life. Contented means happy, but it doesn't say anything about because of her father's wealth. Okay? And really doesn't say anything about the father's affection either. Well, the most affectionate, indulgent father. So, yes, maybe affection, but does it say because of his wealth and affection, she leads a contented life? No. It just says she's the youngest of two daughters, the most affectionate, indulgent father. So that one's gone. B. An affectionate governess helps a character to overcome the loss of her mother. It never says that the governess helps overcome the loss of Emma's mom. It even says over here, if you look closely, she didn't really remember. Her mother had died too long for her to have more than an indistinct remembrance of her caress. It did say, the governess took care of her, but it doesn't say that the governess helps Emma overcome the loss of her mom. So we can get rid of that. That leaves us with A. Even though a character loses a parent at an early age, which it says her mom died when she was young, she's happily raised in a loving home. Yeah, she lived a good life. The governess took very good care of her. So this one's closest to what we said. So the answer is A. Now, if we look at the rest of the questions, we skipped one because one was a general question. Two was the next best question to go to. Now, if we look at the rest of the questions, if we see question number 5 has something to do with line 26 about this word directed. So all we have to do now is just read from here to here. This is the essence of reading piece by piece. We're reading in pieces instead of reading the whole thing and it's really hard to absorb the whole thing if we read the whole passage and then go to the questions. We're doing the questions as we're reading the passage. All right, so we stopped here, so let's read from line 15. 16 years had Miss Taylor been in Miss Woodhouse's family, less as a governess than a friend, very fond of both daughters, but particularly of Emma. Between them it was more the intimacy of sisters. Even before Miss Taylor had ceased to hold the nominal office of governess, the mildness of her temper had hardly allowed her to impose any restraint, and the shadow of authority being now long passed away, they had been living together as friend and friend, very mutually attached, and Emma doing just what she liked, highly esteeming Miss Taylor's judgment, but directed chiefly by her own. So question 5 says, as used in line 26, directed most nearly means, again, don't go directly to the answer choices. Instead, let's answer the question ourselves. So directed means what? So let's see if we can find some clues here. They had been living together as friend and friend, very mutually attached, and Emma doing just what she liked, highly esteeming Miss Taylor's judgment, but blank chiefly by her own. So basically, she was following her own judgment. So primarily she was following her own judgment. So something like, following her own judgment, being guided by her own judgment, something like that. Now we'll go to the answer choices, and instead of Finding the right answers, let's kill the wrong answers. Let's eliminate. Trained, that does not seem like following. Neither does aimed. Get rid of that. Addressed, nope. Guided, that's more like, she was guided by her own judgment. So the correct answer is C. So hope that made sense. And I'll see you in the next video so we can continue with this passage.